Welcome to Wager Talk TV. I'm Kelly Stewart, joined by Steve Merril at Steve Merril on Twitter. 2 R's, 1 L, in case you guys need a little spelling. It's also right there on the screen. Adam Trigger at Top Flight SI. We're headed down to SEC country where the Alabama Crimson Tide take on the Ole Miss Rebels. 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific this Saturday. I'm going to keep this one to myself, Adam, because this is my best bet that I gave out on bet on it this week. So I'm going to kick it over to you. Current line is Alabama plus 12. Total on the Wager Talk odds screen, 64.5, and even some 65s starting to pop up here.
Cal, here's what I'm gonna say about this game. I've come on these videos. We've done Alabama for like 4 straight weeks. And over a month ago, I said, is it possible that this Alabama team is just a normal team? That they're not the top 5 Bama that's just gonna have their hiccup and then get it right and start killing people, just start pounding teams. And that's essentially how it's played out. Alabama is just your run-of-the-mill top 10 team that's been struggling in tough games, in my opinion. And they struggled again last week and eventually lost to LSU. So with that being said, I just don't know how you lay this number. Even if it is the spot where it's like, oh, well, it has to be their week. They have to get it right here. I just can't do it. Obviously, Ole Miss, the defense concerns me a little bit. The fact that Texas A&M threw the ball all over them concerns me. But the number, in my opinion, is still way too high. Teams that can get into Alabama's secondary can move the ball. And then we saw LSU do that. And we saw them, kind of be able to run. The penalties have been an issue. And if you roll all of that up and then add in the fact that Alabama is pretty much done from playing for, I know there's like mathematical scenarios, but let's call it what it is. They're probably not going to the college football playoff this season. I just don't see how you lay this many with Alabama. So the only way I could bet this would be to take the points. I haven't done it yet, but that would be the way I'm looking here, Kel. I would have to take the points with Ole Miss.
Steve, some of these games always have fun narratives, right? And I like to talk about them because it's so much more fun than just saying, my supercomputer made this game 13. You've got Alabama off a loss. You've got Nick Saban versus former assistants. Which way are we going here in this one? And do you buy into these hype narratives maybe over the last 10 years or so?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle you put together when handicapping games. I had the Fade the Public info for NFL stuff every weekend here, and I always say that's a factor. It's a filter that I use as part of the overall puzzle. And I do think quality coaches off a loss is always something that catches your attention. But the other thing that catches my attention, I know you look at this, Kelly, and Marco talks a lot about it, Marco D'Angelo, the bubble bursting situations. And you can recover from one loss nowadays in college football. I mean, just look at the rankings. There's only 4 undefeated teams left. One of them will probably lose at some point still this season, most likely number 4 TCU. But Alabama now is their second loss. They've lost 2 of their last 3 games. You do worry now about that being a bubble burst, especially for a team that really expected national titles this year. They expected 1 loss at most. This isn't your normal 2-loss team. So I think we have to tread lightly saying, Saban off a loss has been strong over the years. A little bit of a different situation. And my math model has been fading Alabama for several weeks now. And, it's funny. I had a best bet on them beginning of the season against Utah State. They won 55-0. I actually thought that line was short. It was short also against Monroe, Vanderbilt, mediocre Arkansas team. They covered all those, but they struggled against Texas early in the season on the road. They've also failed to win outright or cover at Tennessee and at LSU. And it's a couple years in a row now that Alabama has been a below-average road team compared to their home games. Bryce Young checks a lot of the line of scrimmage. I do a weekly radio show in the Tennessee Valley area, Alabama country, with Tom Abraham. He pointed that out to me earlier this year, said that he thinks you're weaker on the road because Bryce Young has so much ability to check at the line of scrimmage. It's more difficult to do that in hostile environments. So Bama's been weaker on the road. My math simulation, 10,000 simulations, has Alabama winning by just 9.5 points over 50% of the time. So double digits is too much, especially if this is a possible flat spot for Bama. So then the question becomes, can Ole Miss do something here? And they're a very capable team. 37.5 points a game, 6.5 yards per play, 5.5 yards per rush, 267 rushing yards per game. That is almost 60 yards more than Bama averages. So you got a team that can run the ball as a live home dog, catching double digits. They've also got that backdoor cover potential if needed. I think Ole Miss is worth a look here.
Sounds like we got ourselves a little handshake amongst the handicappers. I love to hear it. Make sure you guys head over to wagertalk.com. Check out what Steve and Adam both have up for Saturday's games.